Sup, guys? It's Toad back with you yet again. This is the NFL Week 7 video. Let's get it going. I've got this Utah TCU game on behind me right now, which I was completely wrong about. Isaac Wilson. Dude, if he can't even lead Utah to any scoring against TCU's defense, Utah, they might have to just pack it in, man. I mean, I don't even know what to tell you about that. But I had a good day. I mean, I was only 2-2 in college football, and the two plays that I was the most worried about, like based on the market read, what was it, Oklahoma and Kentucky. Neither of those got there. I thought the spot was good, but that was not to be. The other two were nice, easy wins. Maryland outright win as an underdog. I'll take it. And Ball State. I mean, I think that game was never in question. I don't even think Vandy put up enough points by themselves in the game to even cover that spread. So that was just never in question at all. So, not bad necessarily with the 2-2 because the Maryland outright win moneyline cash actually made that be a slight win for me. But I won all the other bets that I had today, so that's why don't just do football, man. Just spread it out across every sport. Spread it. Spread the legs of all the sports. Spread the legs of that betting card all over the place, man. That's what I'm doing. I'm spreading the card. I won both hockey plays and the baseball play today, even though I hate the Yankees. But if they're going to win, at least let me win money on it. So I had a 5-2 day. Big day for me. A nice big day. Let's continue it with the NFL, man. I got 4 NFL plays this week, which seems like I'm getting out of control. I can't stop, man. Colorado won. Good for you, Nate. I don't know who they were playing, man. I was going to look into that game on the show last night and talk about it, and I completely forgot to do that. I hate Colorado, though. I cannot stand Coach Prime. They were playing Arizona, you said, right? I did not really look into that game. I mean, I handicap every single game on the card in like FBS, but that one, I don't remember it standing out to me for any particular reason, so I just don't remember what my thoughts were on like the side in that game at all. Let's go NFL, man. Yeah, but I was having not that great of a year, but I'm decently in the black now this year after I had some real downswings this year. It's not going to be anywhere near as good as the last 2 years, but if we can get a little bit of a win this year, hopefully that'll be the case. No live viewers on my normal streams. What? Oh, no live viewers. Wait, what are you talking about, Shifty? Explain yourself. I don't understand what you're saying. All right. I mean, I get no live viewers on these. Yeah, obviously. Nobody wants to listen to my autism. Tower Gang gets a lot of live streams. I don't. Better Off Dead gets nothing, man. Oh, my water swigs? Yeah. You can bet on it, man. I'm trying. I should, like, mute. I'm just not good enough to do it. I should, like, mute my my mic when I do it, but I don't know. It's better than hearing my mouth be all, I don't know, whatever. My mouth be all dry and shit. My NFL streams don't get as many views. I think they do. The NFL ones get the most, actually. I think I get the most live viewers on NFL and college football, and then the like total amount of views on the videos get the most as well, because people like to bet football more than they like to bet everything else. But let's get into this NFL slate, man. I'll be back tomorrow morning talking about baseball. I think the NLCS next game 6 is tomorrow, so I'll talk about that. Don't even know what my feelings are on that yet. And I'll talk about hockey and whatever else is going on tomorrow. And NBA is starting on Tuesday, man. My Boston Celtics are playing. So we got a lot on tap here. And I'm going to try to be handling some of this while I'm at Bohemian Grove, too. So I think what I'm going to do next week is I'm probably going to do college football and NFL back-to-back on Wednesday night next week, probably, before I then leave for Florida. I don't know. It's going to be tough, but I did do that every week last year. I did them both on Wednesday. So let's talk about NFL. That's why we're here. We're in the middle of NFL bye weeks, but this is a light bye week where usually you get 4 teams on bye each one of these weeks, but the NFL has kind of spread out the bye weeks now. So then you get a couple of weeks in here where only 2 teams are on bye this week, and that is Chicago and Dallas. So they're not playing this week. And the 4 teams that are coming off of bye that were on bye last week, I believe, are Miami, the Rams. I don't even remember. Kansas City and I don't know, one of these other teams. Who was the other team that was on bye last week? I don't even remember. Minnesota. So let's get into it, man. And a few of those are plays. My plays involve, I think, at least 3 of those 4 teams that run buys. So we'll get into it. I had the side right in the Thursday game with Denver, by the way. Not that anybody cares. I think you'd have to be a lunatic to have put money on that, to be honest. It's a light hockey slate tomorrow. Yeah, it's Sunday. The big slate is Saturday, and Sunday's pretty light, typically. Charles, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out, guys. I always start by talking about these NFL London games, man, and these things are just really ugly, and I'm going to refrain from making a play on this one, but I'm very tempted to play the Jacksonville Jaguars here. And this line, even as I'm looking at it through the last half an hour, this line keeps going up on the Jaguars. They've gone up from 5.5 to 6.5, and it looks like it's headed towards the 7. 66% of the tickets and 94% of the cash on the Jaguars. I do agree with the Jaguars side, and the reason is almost entirely that I think the Jaguars have a way better travel and rest spot here, because this is the second straight year where the Jaguars are playing 2 straight games in London. So last year they did it, and they actually won both of the games. Or no, they won the first one and covered the other one as an underdog, I think. So last year I did play Jacksonville in this spot last year because it was just such a huge advantage to already be adjusted to the London time zone, and you're already out there. So I did take Jacksonville in this spot last year against Buffalo, but in addition to it being a great travel spot or lack of travel spot for Jacksonville and a bad one for Buffalo that last year, Buffalo I think was also in a letdown spot coming off some like huge games. So there were multiple factors there that put me on Jacksonville in that one. I still like the Jacksonville side here, though, for that one reason that it's going to be way easier for Jacksonville because they're already in London, man. And they got their asses kicked last week in London by Chicago. So Jacksonville, they're probably going to want to turn it around in some way, man. I mean, they're sitting at 1-5. Both of these teams are at 1-5, actually. And the spread, I think, just kind of looks a little bit insane, right? You have 2 1-5 teams, but one of them is like a touchdown favorite almost on a neutral field. So, like, that's the odds makers telling you Jacksonville is still the better team here, despite how bad they've looked so far. I mean, their defense really hasn't been that good. Trevor Lawrence doesn't look like he's ever, like, bounced back from that collarbone injury last year or whatever it is. It just looks bad for Jacksonville. But I keep thinking that at some point they're going to stop being this bad because they do have a lot of talent on this team. We will see. Patriots, of course, are rolling out. They're rolling with rookie quarterback Drake May here. He didn't look that bad last week, really. It was just that he made way too many mistakes, man. I mean, that was a 14-7 game going into halftime. So my bet at Patriots +7 last week was still live going into halftime. It didn't look that bad. And then all of a sudden it was just a couple turnovers and just a barrage of points for Houston from out of nowhere, turning that game into a ridiculous high-scoring blowout for Houston in almost an instant. So Drake May, he actually didn't do that badly with like his yardage numbers or whatever. He definitely looks like the guy who can put up bigger yardage numbers than like Jacoby Brissett can. Like Drake May has a way better arm than Jacoby Brissett. It's just a matter of he's a rookie. We don't know exactly what he's going to be able to do, and he was making way too many mistakes. So is he going to continue to make mistakes here, or the Patriots have to go all the way out to London? I don't know, but like I said, Jacksonville, having already been there for a week, adjusted to the time zone, should be a huge edge for Jacksonville, having already been there. I do like Jacksonville to win and cover in this one. The Patriots are kind of somewhat off of a bigger game, even though I know both teams got blown out last week. But that's a big game when you have Drake May starting for the first time, rookie quarterback. So you could maybe be in like a little bit of kind of a letdown spot, emotionally at least after that. So I do lean to the Jags for that reason as well. This game, I believe, is in Wembley Stadium this time, where all of the NFL London games were at Wembley at some point, I think, back in the day. But I think all of them this year so far have been at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and this one's going to finally be at Wembley. I don't think that really matters that much, but Jacksonville, just because of the fact that they're already in London, huge edge to Jacksonville for that reason. Scoreboard, what's going on, man? Zach, what's up? It's weird nobody watches these. You guys are all you're the few insane people that do watch these. Fields is getting benched. Yeah, maybe let me talk about all these different quarterback situations. that benching is just so stupid in my opinion, dude. I'll talk about that game in a bit because I'm gonna talk about the Sunday night game anyway. The Jaguars, they've had bad luck so far. To some extent, I think I agree, but I don't know, man. It's just I don't know what's going on with them. But when they play in England, you have to call them the Jaguars, don't you? So those are my feelings on that game. Lean to the Jaguars. We can talk about all these different quarterback spots because I don't know if I want to go over a lot of these different games here, just because a lot of these games I just don't care that much about necessarily. Titans are no longer starting Will Levis. I guess maybe thankfully for Titans fans. The interception machine, dude, it was so hilarious. I put on Red Zone probably, I don't know, like around 3:30 in the afternoon last week, like towards the end of the 1 p.m. slates. Literally the first thing I see is Will Levis throwing an interception in like a crucial moment where the Titans were in like a close game against Indianapolis. Like, you can't even make this up. It's so ridiculous. Levis, he's not cutting it, man. I mean, he is turning it over more than any quarterback I've ever seen. So Titans are playing Mason Rudolph in this game now. We'll see if he can do any better. I mean, he does have some NFL experience from playing with the Pittsburgh Steelers, I believe, and I don't know if he was anywhere else as well, but I mean, I don't think that could possibly be worse. I don't think you could get any worse than Will Levis, so we'll see what happens with the Titans in that one, but they're up against it against a Bills team that is very public, but they're up from 8 to 9.5, 85% of tickets and 90% of the cash on the Bills, so they are really public, but it looks like some money has actually still come in on their side as well. I mean, the Titans, I don't know if they're going to bounce back from how they lost last week to Indy, or if they're going to be like still feeling down on themselves. I don't know, but the Bills are on a short week because they played on Monday night, and that was still a pretty big win for the Bills, even though the Jets are sitting at 2-4 now. But the Bills were trying to stop the Jets from overtaking them in the AFC East. So that's still a pretty big win and a little bit of a short week for Buffalo. So you're not going to see me laying the points here with Buffalo. And Buffalo, their offense is not exactly equipped anymore to cover gigantic numbers like this. And Tennessee still does have a decent defense at the very least. So they may be able to keep this game low scoring enough to stay within that number. And it's down from 43 to 41 on the total, and the over is also very public at 88% of tickets, 92% of the cash. So expecting it to be a bit of a low scoring game as well in that one. We will see what happens. I am not going to be getting involved in that game whatsoever. I lean to the Browns slightly, but it's not going to be a play for me. And Bengals, they're on a little bit of a short week after they went into MetLife and they beat the Giants in primetime Sunday night. But they do tend to struggle whenever they play against Cleveland. And Cleveland, man, I mean, I think they got to do something. The Bengals are up from 3.5 to 5.5. They are public. 81% of the tickets and 82% of the cash. So public, they're only coming in on the Bengals. I mean, the Browns have looked like they've looked like basically the worst team in the league, maybe besides Carolina. Deshaun Watson's just not getting it done. The Browns just traded away Amari Cooper, by the way, so I think he's going to be on the Bills. I don't know if he's starting this week or not, but I don't know. I mean, things just don't look good for the Browns, really, but they are getting Nick Chubb back in this game, I believe, so that is a big addition for the Browns here, so that's going to help the Browns' rushing attack. So will they be able to do something against this Bengals defense? Maybe, because if anything's going to help the Browns' horrible offense at all, it's got to be facing a struggling Bengals defense, right? This Bengals defense has not been good, and I know they looked decent on Sunday night against the Giants, but Giants, I mean, they were without Malik Neighbors. Their offensive line is really injured right now, so I don't know if we can really draw many conclusions from that. So I do like the Browns, and a lot of it is also just because the Bengals, like I was just mentioning, they do actually struggle when they play at Cleveland over the last several years. Cleveland actually has a good record, at least against the spread, against Cincinnati at home. So it is not the easiest spot for Cincinnati to have to play there. The Browns are coming off a close call, though, against the Eagles, though. So is that going to hang the Browns over coming into this game? I don't know, because they played pretty tough against the Philadelphia Eagles, so I'm not totally sure about that. Shifty, what's up, man? Your Jets were in London. Yeah, I know. I lost money on that game. I thought it was a good spot to play the Jets, or a bad spot for the Vikings in that one. Thank you, Charles. I try to soothe you. Maybe should I like take a step back and maybe like not talk as loudly? I mean, the mic is picking me up, right? So maybe I'll try to be a little bit chill. Nate, you got Chubb. Yeah, I mean, Chubb. I mean, as bad as the Browns' offense is, I'm not going to say that you shouldn't start playing Chubb in fantasy. I mean, we don't know what he's going to do, but he's one of the better running backs in the league if he's actually healthy. So I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing. What else are we going to talk about here? Other quarterback situations. I mean, one of them I'm going to talk about in a minute because I do have a play in Dolphins-Colts. So that is one of those other quarterback situations where there's a different quarterback coming in. Jets Steelers I'm going to talk about. Well, I guess I'll talk about the primetime games maybe because these other big games, I actually have a play on basically all of them. So I don't know what else to think about this. And Raiders-Rams, I will just say, I mean, the Raiders are in total disarray, and we know Devontae Adams, talking about these wide receivers that are getting traded all over the place. The Raiders have traded him to the Jets, so the Jets look like they will have him this week. I saw some video of him practicing, and it's the Devontae Adams reunion with Aaron Rodgers over there. The Raiders, I mean, I think they're in turmoil, man. I mean, you saw Max Crosby last week, like, shoving the defensive line coach. Things are just not right in Las Vegas, man. So you're not going to find me playing on the Raiders side in this one. The Rams maybe are up to too high of a spread, though, up from 4 to 7, 85% of the tickets and only 79% of the cash. So the Rams are public just because the Raiders have looked so bad recently. It look like they're just in complete disarray. So the public wants nothing to do with them. I mean, I don't blame them. I don't want anything to do with the Raiders in this state either. And the Rams, if they're going to play a decent game, it could be in this spot because the Rams are actually coming out of a bye. I'm pretty sure I mentioned that, right? So that's like a decent spot for the Rams to start getting healthy because the Rams, they have been a very injured team, man. They've had injuries on defense, and it's not just these wide receivers where I don't think their wide receivers are coming back. I think Cooper Kupp may be targeting the next game on this Thursday or maybe the game after that as his comeback game. I'm not really sure about that. So I don't think Kupp or Nacua is going to be back. I think Nacua might be out for the season. I'm not even sure about that. But I do think that this bye is going to help the Rams get a little bit healthier, especially on defense, which I think should help. And the fact that they went into that bye on a bad note, losing 2 games in a row. Usually when a team comes out of a bye off of going into it on a bad note, especially in the NFL, they use that time to like turn it around. So I do think the bye should help the Rams a little bit here. So I don't know, man. I hesitate to say that I actually lean to the Rams because they're such a public team with less of the cash on them, but I certainly want no part of the Raiders in this one. And then Texans-Packers is a big game as well. Packers up from 2.5 to 3. 50% of the tickets evenly split, but 55% of the cash on the Green Bay side. I don't know if I have much of a feel for this game at all, man. I mean, it may just be kind of a difficult spot for Houston just because they're playing 2 straight games on the road and kind of doing it in unfamiliar territory. And one of the things that I mentioned last year going into that playoff game against Baltimore is that Stroud didn't do quite as well in the outdoor games last year because Houston plays in a roofed stadium. So he does play better in, like, I think in that roofed environment or in less cold environments at the very least. I don't know how cold it's going to be here. 56 and a little bit rainy again, similar to last week in Green Bay there. So it doesn't look like the easiest spot for Houston to me to have to play these 2 games outdoors like this. And Green Bay, I mean, I don't know what to say about either of these teams really other than they're both coming off of really nice looking wins. So I don't know if there's anything else to take away from that. But Green Bay, what I was about to say is that they're not traveling at the very least. So the travel spot does look better for Green Bay. The market does look like it's somewhat indicating on the Green Bay side in this one, but I think maybe you've missed the boat a little bit because it has gotten to that key number 3, although maybe some 2.5s might still be out there in Green Bay if you do like that side, but I don't have much of a feel for that one, man. It could be one of the better games this week, though. Yeah, Nick Chubb, Bradley Chubb, and Toad Chubb. That's just me with a boner. Cocktober always gives me Chubb. I like when the dudes that submit to Cocktober have the Chubb going on. And let's talk about these primetime games because I don't have a play on any of these 3 games, but I do have 4 plays, and a couple of them are in a couple of the other biggest games this week, so we'll talk about those. Usually, although you know me, usually I'm on some ugly ones. Don't worry, I'm on two really ugly ones and two of the best games of the week. So we got a nice mix here. Sunday night, I mean, I think this qualifies as what's probably going to be ugly. Jets Steelers. I don't know how to read this game at all, dude. The Jets have flipped from a 1-point dog to a 1-point favorite, and it looks like it's going up a little bit further. 57% of tickets, 63% of the cash on the Jets. So the market read, it does look like it's sort of indicating that there is money coming in on the Jets side. I don't know what I think about this. The Jets are on a short week. Like I said, they're coming off kind of a brutal loss, to Buffalo on Monday night. In a game where I lost on the Jets again for the second straight week. I lost money on the second straight not second straight week, but the second time this year I lost money, or third time this year I lost money on the Jets. I think I lost money on the Jets in week 1, week 4, and week 6. So isn't that just great? The Jets have been killing me. One of my worst NFL teams of the year so far. The stupid Jets. I can't get a handle on these guys. Again, I don't know what I think about this. They're on a short week, coming off that tough loss, man. So that once I saw that was the case, I thought, well, the Jets are in a bad spot, right? For those reasons, makes sense that that's not the best spot for them. They're going to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's coming off kind of an easy win, but Pittsburgh was out in Las Vegas, I think, right? And now they're coming back from that. So Pittsburgh does have a little bit of travel as well there. Actually, more travel than the Jets have, but I don't know if that's enough to have me leaning against the Steelers, with the Jets, I think, still being in the worst spot. But then you have the personnel changes here. The Jets have Devontae Adams, but getting him, even though he's a very talented wide receiver, I don't think that really impacts the line very much. I think if anything's going to impact the line, it's going to be the Steelers switching it to Russell Wilson. This boggles my mind, dude. I don't understand what the Steelers are doing. Like, usually a team, when they're going to switch to a new quarterback, it's usually because the team is not doing well, and the quarterback's not doing well, and the team is trying to change something and shake something up, right? But what's going on here? The Steelers just won again. Like I said, they put up a pretty good offensive performance against the Raiders last week, although it is the Raiders. They suck, but still, it was not a bad game by any means for the Steelers. It was a pretty good game. Justin Fields has not looked that bad. And now, for no apparent reason, Russell Wilson is going to be starting for the Steelers. If anybody thinks they can explain why this is a good idea for the Steelers to do this, by all means, go for it, because I don't see it at all. Russell Wilson started the season, I believe, at quarterback for the Steelers, and they took him out almost immediately. I mean, I think he got hurt in the opening game against the Falcons, but I think he was just sucking ass. And they took him out, and Justin Fields came in, and what did he do? Well, he won the game, of course, because the Steelers won the first 3 games. So when you're rolling like this and your quarterback's not doing poorly, the quarterback switch makes no sense to me. And I think it's going to be a jarring change for the Steelers, man. It's kind of like when you have the injured, or not the injured player spot, but almost like the reverse injured player spot, I think. When you're switching to a new quarterback like this, in this case, I don't know what to call this spot, really, but when you're switching to a quarterback who, I'm not sure if the team agrees with this move. I'm not sure if he's the better quarterback in this scenario. I don't know at all. But when you're doing that, the team's going to have to adjust to that new quarterback being in there, man. I think it's not like not like the injured player theory spot where your star player got injured. No, the team's going to really step up to accommodate for that. I don't think that's what this is. They're just switching to another quarterback in a nonsensical way. I just don't think it makes sense. Wilson, I mean, I'm sure he knows the playbook because he's been with the Steelers since before the season started, but still, again, I just don't think it makes sense to me, man. And they're going to have to gain some chemistry, some rapport with him, which they've already started building up with Justin Fields. So because of the quarterback switch, I mean, that alone might have me slightly leaning to the Jets side in this one. Other than that, I just don't know what to think about this game at all. But that just makes no sense. Russell Wilson is old, and he's not really a mobile quarterback anymore. Justin Fields, much younger and is better with his legs, and the Steelers have some issues on the offensive line, man. Their offensive line is not that good. Neither of these teams have good offensive lines. So, I mean, that also seems like it's a better environment for Fields to be in because he can kind of escape with his feet, whereas Russell Wilson, I don't think, is as equipped to do that anymore at the age of whatever, 35, 36. So it just doesn't make sense to me at all. I'm trying to read some of these comments here again. Urjo, what's up, man? The Winnipeg Jets are better than the New York Jets. The Winnipeg Jets look unstoppable right now, man. They added some offensive pieces to that team. Their defense still looks good. They look good, man. And yeah, the Jets fired their coach before last week, which is why I was on the Jets. The fired coach spot is a good spot to play a team usually, so that was another reason I was on the Jets. And the Jets certainly could have won that game on Monday. There were just a few plays, like there were a few different plays where if one of them had gone the other way, they probably would have won the game. Whichever team has the sexiest fans, I don't know. We'd have to do some research on that. Which team do you think has the sexiest fans? I don't know. Chargers, maybe? Some California team like that? Miami, maybe? The Dolphins? I don't know. I don't know, man. Monday night, we got another Monday night doubleheader. I don't know why the league keeps doing this either, because it gives me more primetime games I feel like I have to talk about. So thanks to the NFL, I guess, for this. So we've had, I think this is going to be the third Monday night doubleheader of the season. And one of the games at least is a good game. Maybe both of them actually might be pretty good games. But the games are going to overlap a little bit. And I think Ravens-Bucks is probably going to be the one that more people are going to want to watch over Chargers-Cardinals. But I don't know if either of these games is necessarily that terrible of a game. Both of these teams look like we have ticket cash discrepancies, with the cash being more towards the home underdog in this one. And I probably do agree with both of those sides, but it's not really much of a situation where I think that I can see like an angle as far as the situation is concerned. Ravens are down from 5 to 3.5, so this line has been going down. It was 4.5 in the middle of the week, and they're slightly public, it looks like, with 53% of the tickets, but it looks like the money is driving that line down towards Tampa. Tampa's got 54% of the cash on them. And the total has gone up from 47 to 49.5, 81% of the tickets and only 57% of the cash on the over, though. So even though the line has moved up a bit on the over, this game looks to me like maybe the under would be a better way to play this than actually looking at the side in this one, because you got two teams that couldn't have looked any better offensively last week, man. The Baltimore Ravens, they put up 30 points last week. They've been putting up huge point totals the last few weeks. But look who they did it against, man. Dallas, Buffalo, their defense is fine. But other than that, Dallas, Cincinnati, Washington, those defenses are all bad. So I don't know if the high point totals against those teams really matter that much. Now they're having to go on the road off of a pretty nice game that was pretty hyped up against Washington. So Baltimore's coming off that. So I think Baltimore, maybe they're in a little bit of a difficult spot there, but just because they scored so many points, I think maybe you're getting some value playing an under in this one, even though I know Baltimore does have a good offense and they certainly could score. But both of these teams have good defenses as well. So not to overlook these defenses. In Tampa, they're coming off a 51-point performance last week against New Orleans. So that makes it not a situation where I want to play on either side. When you have a team that is coming off a really high-scoring game like that, I don't really want to be on that team the next game because they just look too good in the previous game. But in this case, I do actually still lean to the Bucks taking the points at home just because I just think the line is a little bit too high on the Ravens at this point. I think the stock might be a little bit too high there, and the market does appear to be indicating that way. But again, like I said, I think the under might be the better way to play this game just because both offenses looked too good last week. And, of course, in this one, Tampa was definitely helped out by some turnovers too, but they did put up a ridiculous yardage total of 594. But really, the Saints just kind of completely fell apart later in that game. It was just really crazy to see. So with two teams coming off ridiculously high point totals, I think maybe the under would be worth a look in that one. And then Chargers-Cardinals, the Chargers are up from pick 'em to a 1, I guess 1.5 really, because it's one with pretty heavy juice. They're a little bit public, 57% of the tickets, but 84% of the cash on the other side on Arizona. I do lean to the Arizona side in this one. I like the Arizona side. Out of any of the plays on Monday night, I do like the Arizona side a little bit more than anything else, at least as it stands right now. But when it comes to Monday morning, there's a chance that I might change my mind slightly. Just remember, when I talk about these games that I don't have as strong an opinion on, sometimes my opinion might change a little bit as I see like the market shifting and I get more like information. So I don't know exactly, but the Chargers, they're coming off a divisional win, which is a pretty big win. I mean, it was a win that actually was better than it looked, though, because they were winning that game, I think, 23-0 in the fourth quarter. But they went into high elevation, beat Denver. Now they're having to play a second straight road game, which is not the easiest thing to do, although they're just going from, I guess, they're staying in mountain time zone, I guess, is what they're doing for this. So they're not really shifting time zones, but still, it's 2 straight games on the road, not necessarily that easy. Coming off a divisional win, going to a place where they're not that familiar playing. It's a team that has a below 500 record, so it is possible that the Chargers just don't bring their A game for this one. Arizona, I think they're off a more embarrassing loss. They were in that second straight road game last week, and I think it looked worse than it actually was because going up to Green Bay is not that easy anyway, but Arizona was in a letdown spot off of beating San Francisco, man. So I think it was a bad spot for Arizona, and I kind of expect them to bounce back in this one this week. Arizona, I mean, they are a complete Jekyll and Hyde team. You never know what you're going to get out of this team week to week, but I think we're going to get which one is better or worse in football, though? Do you want Jekyll or do you want Hyde here? Do you want the guy who's good or evil? Because the evil guy is a little bit crazy, right? So maybe you want that crazy. I don't know, but I'm expecting whatever the good Arizona is to show up in this game, man. They're hosting a Monday night game. That's kind of what I expect in this one, and they're in a bounce-back spot, whereas the Chargers, like I said, second straight road game, not as good of a spot for them. So I do lean to the Cardinals in that one. The illiterate quarterback is, I don't know, Reichler Rumray, is that his name? I don't know. The dyslexic Kyler Murray. Yeah, thanks, upside down guy. You're dead, though. You jumped out of the World Trade Center. Arizona's gay. I don't know about that. 7, we're up to 10 now, Charles. I think Charles is a record. Charles is a record. 10 is a record, Charles. Oh, my God. We're up to, I think what we have is a record right now. How big is Mayfield's hog? I don't know. You should have him submit to Cocktober, though, and then we'll actually see. Yeah, you're better off dead than running with my picks. I don't know. I had a good day today, man. 5-2. So you're doing pretty well if you follow my picks today at the very least. The guy that can't read is probably better at football. Kyler Murray, does he have like a low IQ or something? I don't know. He's not that bad at football, though. He can run around. I mean, he's definitely got talent. Somehow he can see over his offensive line, as short as he is. I don't know, but I don't understand why that team is so, like, why they have such disparate results, man. That team is, it makes them a little bit hard to handicap because they're just so good one week and so bad the next. But if you can find that spot where you think they're going to be either good or bad, then you can hit that spot just right. And I think I've had a good gauge on Arizona, actually. I won on them against the Rams earlier this year, and my stronger leans that I had in their games were last week with Green Bay, which I was right about, and on the Arizona side against San Francisco, which I forgot to talk about that week. That one I was right about as well when they upset San Francisco. I did not bet the Texas Longhorns, but I think I picked them in pools. That one, I should have gone with my gut, man. My initial gut said Georgia was the right side in that one, but then everything that started coming out, the more that I thought about it, the more that I listened to all these other professional guys, the market read, everything else said Texas. So, but, I mean, good for Georgia. I mean, that's also good for me in a way because at least my thinking that Georgia is actually still one of the top teams in football is not necessarily wrong. Let's get to these actual plays, man. Now that we're a half hour into the video, I think I'll be able to get these done. You're going to hate my plays, man. Let me tag these with the NFL real quick because I'm going to still have these up tomorrow morning. Because when I do the morning video, oh, shit, I just put one of mine up. No. When I get to the morning videos, I like to have the league that it is listed there, so you know what I'm talking about when it's because I'm gonna be playing. I'm gonna be talking about baseball and NHL. I don't know if I'm gonna have any plays in those, but we will see. First game up is another one of these different quarterback situations. I'm playing the Miami Dolphins plus 3.5. this is getting real ugly, brother. I like Miami in this one. As I mentioned I was going to talk about this one. I think you can probably only get +3s now because it's down on the Colts from 3.5 to 3. +3, I think, is still fine. I mean, it's not a huge difference. I'd rather have the hook, but I still agree with the +3. I think the Dolphins have a decent chance to actually get the win in this game. Colts are a little bit public, 66% of tickets, only 63% of the cash. The public is not going to be coming in on Miami, man. I mean, Miami has just been a horrific-looking team all season, basically. They didn't even look good against Jacksonville in week 1, and Jacksonville's been so bad recently that win doesn't even look good. Miami had to come back from down 17-7 in that game to win, so even that doesn't look good. And then they got crushed by Buffalo, but remember, Miami did outgain Buffalo, and they actually won the game statistically, and of course, Tua went down in that game, and Miami has not had Tua since then. So, yes, they're still without Tua coming into this game. I'm aware of that. But Miami, yeah, I mean, they've been without Tua this whole time, so that is basically the excuse for them losing all these games. They finally won a game against New England the last time they played, though, and I think that might actually help because that was the first time they won without Tua. So I think that helps them get a little bit of confidence there, saying, hey, we can actually win without Tua. Like, let's do it. Let's start winning some games, man. So I think that will give you a little bit of confidence after you've been in such a rut and you haven't been able to win without your star quarterback. You finally get that win. You kind of get that like monkey off your back. And then Miami went into a bye right after that. I think this bye is going to help Miami. I know they went in on an okay note where they'd won a game, but still, man, I mean, they're a 2-3 team. They're a team that came into the season with really high expectations. So I don't think they're going to come out of this bye. Like, I don't think they're going to be using this bye to just like celebrate, like, hey, we beat New England. Yeah, great. But you still know you have a ton of stuff to fix. And the other thing that I think this bye is going to do, it's going to help Tyler Huntley learn the offense, man, because he's still their quarterback. He's only been their quarterback since, I think, this Monday night game against Tennessee. I know he hasn't looked good in either of these games, but Tyler Huntley, he's got some experience up in the past playing with the Baltimore Ravens, but of course he's having to learn this new system, man, and they just picked him up. Going into this Tennessee game, Miami had been going with Skylar Thompson was the backup for Tua. He wasn't getting it done, so Miami went and they picked up Tyler Huntley, and he had to just get thrust into this offense, man. So he didn't know this offense at all these first 2 weeks, really. He was still learning the offense. So I think having this extra week to prepare, like I said, I think that's going to help him learn the offense. It's going to help the rest of the offensive players kind of get used to playing with him. This Miami team, I mean, they still have good players on their offense, man. They still have Hill. They still have Achane. I think those guys are not hurt this week, right? I know they've had some injuries, but Miami, I mean, they still have some good offensive weapons here. Their defense isn't very good, but I think it's a positive spot for Miami. And on the other side, I think the spot's not very good for Indianapolis. I mean, they're coming off a win over Tennessee that could have easily been a loss. Like, they didn't play well in this game. They did outgain Tennessee, but it wasn't by much. In this game, it was close down the stretch. Tennessee was winning the game for a lot of the game, as you can see here. It looked like Tennessee was probably going to be able to win the game, and of course, Indy was able to score, and then Will Levis completely threw the game away again at the end with another pick in a crucial moment. So Indy was able to escape. So does that mean that they're going to refocus because, well, they know that they just escaped against a pretty bad Tennessee team? I'm not so sure about that because this kind of looks like a sandwich spot in a way to me because it's sandwiched in between their games against all three of their division opponents. They played Jacksonville and then Tennessee, and then up next they have Houston. That's a huge game, man. That's double revenge coming up against Houston. They lost the opening game against Houston, and remember, Indy lost to Houston in the final week of the season last year, and that was a game that determined Indy's playoff fate. Indy could have made the playoffs if they won that game, and they didn't win, and it was a game that went right down to the wire. They played Houston to the wire again, trying to get revenge to open the season. This is going to be a big game coming up against Houston, man. I think Indy wants that game. Getting a lowly Tua-less Miami team here, I'm not sure Indy is going to be totally focused on this. And this is a reverse injured player theory spot now because Anthony Richardson is back, and he is going to start this game for Indy, and he has not played since, when was the last time he played? Week 3. So he has not played since week 3, and I'm not even sure that Richardson is an upgrade right now, man. He has been struggling. I know he adds that dual threat component that you're not going to get with Joe Flacco, obviously, because Flacco is old. And Richardson, he does have a decent arm, but Flacco, he's been throwing the ball well, man. He's got rapport with these receivers. Flacco won 2 out of his 3 games. I don't know if Richardson is quite ready yet, man. We might see that he'll at some point like turn it on and become a good quarterback, but we have not seen that yet. Flacco seems to be the better of these 2 quarterbacks for them. He's had more experience. He's looked better with these receivers. So the only thing that Richardson gives you is that he rushes more, but he also puts himself in harm's way and gets himself injured way too much. So Richardson coming back, honestly, I don't know that that's going to help that much, and it's a reverse injured player theory spot, which I always talk about. When you have your starting quarterback, I don't know if I'd classify him as a star player, but when you lose your starting quarterback, the first game without him, you usually step your game up a little bit, and they did with Joe Flacco, and they beat Pittsburgh that first game without Richardson starting. But then once you've gotten used to that other quarterback and you get some wins under your belt with him, you don't want to switch back to that other quarterback necessarily. I mean, maybe you do because he is your starter, but it takes time to readjust to that guy coming back in. And you might get a little bit complacent because, well, you've been winning with Joe Flacco in this case. So you might think, hey, we can win without Richardson. Like, we're going to win against this, like, awful Miami team with him, certainly, right? So I think there are reasons that Indy would overlook Miami here for all the reasons I just stated, the scheduling spot and the fact that now it's also a reverse injured player theory spot on top of that with Richardson coming back, and they're going to have to get used to him again. And remember, Jonathan Taylor is still out in this game, and he is a stud running back, man. He's one of the best running backs in the league, and I know it is a plug-and-play running back league, as I do say with the NFL, but their rushing game has not been good since he's been out. Sermon, Goodson, these guys haven't been getting it done on the ground for them. One of the games was against Jacksonville. Jacksonville's defense is not very good. And the other game, maybe you can give them a pass because Tennessee's defense is pretty good, but still, Taylor being out, I mean, that's a pretty big loss for Indianapolis as well. So I like Miami in that game. I'm on Miami. Oh, man, I'm trying to keep up with the chat, man. You guys giving me a lot of views. I can't keep up with the chat. I'll monkey off my back, yeah. Oh, this is a fake super chat, man. What are you talking about? I don't even have super chats enabled because I think YouTube will probably like just kick me off, demonetize me, whatever. What else we got for a chat here before I go on to this next game here? I don't know what you guys are even talking about here. Antifreeze. The antifreeze is what you use against Cleveland, the dog pound there, which is where Flacco was last year. I don't know what you're talking about illiterate quarterbacks, though, unless you're talking about NFL football literacy. I don't know. What? A big stake gambler? I mean, I don't do, like, necessarily high stakes, but I've been doing this for, like, 20-something years, man, so it's not like I don't know what I'm doing. Miami's the first play. Next up, we're going to talk about, I'm going to go horrible game, big game, horrible game, big game. That's just the way that's the order of the sequence of games as well. So I got 2 in the 1 p.m. slate, 2 in the 4 whatever p.m. slate, and those are my plays. And the order that they are in, like, the betting sheet or whatever is this order as well. So up next, Minnesota against Detroit. This is a big game, man. This is a good-looking game. I'm playing the Minnesota Vikings. Public is coming in on Detroit, 72%, even though it does look like 75% of the tickets. But I'm not going to read that much into that cash discrepancy, at least for now. I don't know if we're going to expect to see that shift a little bit come tomorrow afternoon. I don't know. Vikings are down from 1.5 to 1. Not a significant move whatsoever. You can find them at 1 or 1.5 out there. I think it's pretty much just 1.5s everywhere. It doesn't matter between those two numbers, obviously, but we're fading the public in this one. And I think this is a spot to go against Detroit, and it's a spot to play on Minnesota, in my opinion. Detroit, I mean, they've looked good for a few weeks now. Public is all over Detroit now based on what they've seen. They've put up more than 40 points in 2 straight games. This offense is on fire right now. But, I mean, they did it against Seattle and Dallas, and they beat Arizona as well. Didn't put up a huge point total there, but those defenses are not great, man. I mean, this is not the Legion of Boom, Seattle, even though I know it's Mike McDonald there now. Their defense hasn't been that good. Dallas's defense has had huge problems, and they're massively injured. And Detroit's offense didn't even do that well against Arizona. But now Detroit's coming off that 47-9 win over Dallas, man. I mean, that was a game that was just embarrassing for Dallas, and everybody was absolutely just making fun of Detroit, or making fun of Dallas after that game, man. People were posting the screenshots of Jerry Jones. Everybody saw what happened in that game. So now public is just going to come in on Detroit, man. But when you have a game where you look that good, you're never as good as you look in a game where you look that good. You just went into Dallas. You just destroyed the Dallas Cowboys, America's team. I mean, that's a huge win anyway. You look at it, man, you just went and absolutely blew them out. This is one of those spots where I think you're feeling overconfident, man. Even though I know Minnesota is ahead of Detroit in the standings, I know that the line is telling you Detroit's the better team, and I agree Detroit is the better of these two teams. Odds makers are telling you that. The Vikings, even though they have a slightly better record than Detroit, Minnesota's not the better team over Detroit. But this is a spot play, man. I don't think that the market indicating that Detroit is the better team actually is helping here, because the public just doesn't seem to care. The public is still coming in on Detroit knowing that they're the better team, is what I should say. So I'm going to fade that sentiment here. Detroit, like I said, I think that coming off a game like that, having to play in a second straight road game, I just don't think it's the best. It does not set up that well, even though they are playing the team that's ahead of them in the division. Doesn't set up that well for them. I think they're feeling really high on themselves right now. They're the dominant team in this division, man, from like last year. I think they think that they're better than Minnesota. They know that they're better than Minnesota. I think they're going to come into this with some cockiness. And of course, we do know Detroit lost their best defensive player last week. Aiden Hutchinson had a dual fractured leg in that game. It was nasty, man. Some Theismann-esque stuff there. Hutchinson, he broke his tibia and fibula. Not good. I almost said tibula and fibia. Tibia and fibula. That's the orthopedic surgeon who can't read. Might mix those up. But Hutchinson will be out, so that is a loss for Detroit there. I don't know how significant of a loss that's going to be, because Detroit is more of an offensive team, of course, but I think it will be a factor. And now Detroit's facing a Minnesota defense coming into this one. Minnesota's defense has been pretty good, and Detroit hasn't exactly faced the best array of defenses this year, man. Like, look at these. None of these defenses are that good. The Rams defense is actually one of the worst in football right now. And Tampa Bay, I mean, they've had a lot of secondary injuries, and Detroit didn't even, they weren't even able to score in that game, even though Detroit put up a lot of offensive yards in that game. Didn't convert them to points for whatever reason. So I think this might be the most difficult defense Detroit has faced. I think it's a difficult spot for them. In Minnesota, they're coming out of a bye, man. And I know I do like to say that when a team goes into a bye on a good note, it tends to not be a great spot, because what do you have to fix in that bye? Because everything's going really well. But in this case, I think they're going to spend that bye preparing for Detroit, man. This Detroit game is still huge for Minnesota. I think it's arguably bigger for Minnesota than it is for Detroit, even though Detroit is one game below Minnesota in the standings. That has not been the case over the last couple of seasons, man. Detroit, last season, Detroit was the team in this division, man. It's been Green Bay for a long time as well. It has never really been Minnesota, but most recently it was Detroit last year. Detroit beat Minnesota both times last year. And Minnesota, they played Detroit both of those games. Nick Mullins was quarterback. Not Nick Mullen, the hilarious comedian, but Nick Mullins was the quarterback in those games. And he's not very good. So now Minnesota, I mean, they have Sam Bradford, man. I mean, I'm not a believer in Sam Bradford, but this Minnesota team does look to be better than it was with Nick Mullins there. But Minnesota almost beat Detroit in one of those two games, and they lost, I think, by 6 points or 4 points or something in one of them. They lost by 10 in the other one. But Minnesota, they were that close to being able to pull off that upset against Detroit last year. I think Minnesota's going to want to beat Detroit here, man, more than Detroit wants to beat them. Because like I said, Detroit last year, I mean, they reached the top of the division, man. That's what they did, and they made the NFC Championship last year. I think Minnesota is going to be playing this game with more of a chip on their shoulder than Detroit is. So I think the motivational factor actually is on the Minnesota side here, even though I do think that Detroit is actually the better of these two teams. But in this spot, I like Minnesota. Holy shit, this is a lot of comments, man. Tom Cruise, what's up, man? Yeah, I talk to myself out loud. What do you want, man? Nice tower there. I don't know what you're trying to spell exactly, but the Vikings need to hire more, Somalians with the last name Moan, Warren Moon. Warren Moon was on the Vikings at the end of his career. And then they had Dante Culpepper. I remember those guys. Warren Moon, I liked him, man. I liked the run and shoot, which I forgot the name of it when I was saying that the Houston Texans sort of tried to run that style of offense a few weeks ago, but the Houston Oilers did that. Next up is, you already saw me put this one up, and this is the ugliest of all of them, Carolina Panthers plus 9.5. This was the first situation that I keyed on, man, and God help me. This game might actually get to 10, so I don't think you really have to take this now. Because if you don't take it now and it goes back down, whatever, you can still take 9, 8.5. It doesn't really matter. So I think you could wait on this because it looks like it's still going up on Washington from 8.5 through the 9.5. You might be able to get the double digits, man. Double-digit underdogs are almost always worth a look in the NFL because there's always so much parity in the NFL. I'm actually not even sure. I don't even know if we've had a double-digit favorite this year so far in the NFL. And how is it possible that the first time it happens, it could be with the Washington Commanders, the Washington football team, the Redskins? It's just insane. I think Washington's getting too much respect right now based on how high-flying their offense has been so far. They are unbelievably public. 91% of the tickets, 94% of the cash. That is, you do not want to be on a team that's that public, man. It's either you play against them or you just stay off the game completely. You do not want to play a team like that, man. In this spot, I think this is a really bad spot for Washington. As bad as Carolina's been, I know, but Washington, they're in a tough spot, man, because they were rolling after they lost that first game. They got that first win with their rookie quarterback, Jaden Daniels, and they were off to the races, man. Their offense looked really good. But it was against, the Giants. Their defense is okay, but Washington kind of escaped in that game because the Giants' kicker, Gano, got hurt in the game, and that really had an effect on the outcome. Then Washington played Cincinnati and Arizona, not good defenses. And then they played Cleveland, who does have a good defense, but Cleveland's offense, they just haven't been doing anything right. So those wins, I would say take a little bit of a step back looking at those wins. And then they ran into the best team they faced so far this year, Baltimore, and they lost the game. And that was a big game, man. So this, I'm going to say this is a sandwich spot for Washington. And when you are on a roll like this and you lose your win streak like that, you finally take a loss and it's against a team that you step up for, like you get up emotionally for that game, you get up physically for that game, and it's a physical defense that you just played in Baltimore. I think it's going to hang you over into the next game. So I think that is going to be the case with Washington here, coming off that really tough game and a game that ended their win streak. Now they have to play what looks like the worst team in football, Carolina. Are they really going to take Carolina seriously? When up next, look at who they have up next. The Chicago Bears. This is a huge game because this is the battle of the number 1 versus the number 2 draft pick rookie quarterbacks, man. This is the rookie quarterback battle of the season between Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. Huge, huge game. I think that makes this a look-ahead spot and a sandwich spot. That's a massive look-ahead spot, dude. I don't think there's any way else to look at that. Chicago's been playing pretty well as well, but the quarterback battle factor of that, huge. Both of those quarterbacks are really going to be looking ahead to that game and wanting to step up and play really well in that game. So Carolina, this is a sandwich spot for Washington. I don't see how they take Carolina seriously, sandwiched in between these two way bigger games. Carolina, I know I lost on them last week. I'm 1-1 with the Panthers this year, which is a lot better than with the Jets. I played on them when they actually won at the Raiders. I thought last week was the spot, and they were hanging around in that game until they turned it over, and Andy Dalton threw an interception down 8 in Atlanta territory late, and then they could just never come back. But this could be the spot. This is a fade of Washington. This is not a play on Carolina. When you play Carolina, you're never playing on Carolina for any reason, but you are fading their opponent when you do it a lot. So Carolina, I mean, I think they're going to continue to try to play well and try to win games. I mean, you're a one-win team. You keep getting embarrassed. You want to win some games. So you got this new stud rookie quarterback coming in Carolina. They're in a situation with their rookie quarterback last year. This is number 1 pick versus number 2 pick of the last 2 seasons, basically. But Bryce Young, he's been so bad that Carolina had to just call it quits on him and put Andy Dalton in. So Carolina, they might have some reason to play for that reason too, because they might just be a little bit extra angry because this is Washington coming in. Washington looks like they have found something with their quarterback that they drafted really high up in the draft, whereas Carolina, theirs looks like a complete bust. So that might anger Carolina a little bit more coming into this game as well. So I like Carolina here, and at the very least, even though I know Washington's offense is very good, Carolina's defense probably is not going to be able to stop Washington in this game, Washington's offense, but Carolina should be able to do something against Washington's defense, man. This Washington defense is still near the bottom of the league, not good. Carolina should be able to score against them. I don't know if Carolina is going to be able to win in like a boat race with Washington, but you only need them to come within 9.5 or 10 points here. Even though it is a high total, it's going up 48 to 51.5, and it looks like there is now some buyback with 54% of the cash on the under and 76% of the tickets on the over. So maybe there is a little bit of buyback here, but so it does still look like the actual move was initially there on the 48, driving it up to the 51, but it could be a false move potentially. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out the read on the total there. It could be that the professionals came in, intentionally slammed the line up to 51 because 51.5 because they actually wanted to come in and play that key number under, because 51.5 is a key number. So maybe that's the case. Although with 2 horrible defenses, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of reason to play an under in this game. Although you are fading the public sentiment, at least as far as the public wanting to play on this Washington high-flying offense here at the very least. But I'm not playing the total. I'm playing the side, like I said, and I think it is a pretty big sandwich spot for Washington, man. In between their first real huge step-up game, step-up in class, and with the big rookie QB battle on tap next. Give me Carolina, plus the 9.5. I'm calling it right now, but I haven't played it yet, and you may be able to get 10 on this one tomorrow. So that's going to be the play there. I know how ugly it is. Upside down guy, fuck you, man. Tom, thanks for showing up, brother. You're giving me views at the very least. Texas Goat, what's up, man? I don't know where you guys are all coming from, but you guys are raiding my chat just to make fun of me. But hey, man, at the end of the day, I went 5-2 today. If you're winning, you get the last laugh, man. Thank you, Tom. Come to Bohemian Grove, man, and hang out with me in person. I think I'm way more insufferable on online, especially on Twitter, than anywhere else. Let's get to this last play here, which is going to be on the other huge game of the week, so you guys might not hate this one. San Francisco 49ers minus 1.5. I can't help myself. I'm playing 4 NFL games this week. A lot of times, I usually have like 3. Sometimes I only have 2, but I just kind of like a lot of these spots, man. I like my read on these 2 bigger games because I think there is some like revenge motive here in a couple of these spots, and it doesn't get any bigger than Super Bowl revenge, which is what we got here with the 49ers, man. Chiefs are public. I mean, of course they are. They're undefeated. I mean, what have they done wrong so far? Not much, other than the fact that their offense isn't really that good this year. 65% of the tickets and only 61% of the cash. So the Chiefs are public. They have a little bit less of the cash on them. They're going to the 49ers. 49ers sitting at 1.5 at home. Again, I think this is a huge motivational spot for the 49ers just because this is Super Bowl revenge, man. This is what the 49ers have had circled all year. Everybody knows 49ers, and of course I know because I had the 49ers in the Super Bowl. 49ers certainly had their chances to win that game. They looked really good in the first half. And of course, a lot of it started to unravel when Greenlaw, their linebacker, got hurt when he just ran out on the field wrong and just collapsed. And I think Greenlaw is still not even back. I think he's out again for this entire season, so the 49ers won't have him. I do understand the 49ers do still have some injuries, but they're getting some guys back. Deebo Samuel, I think, came back in their previous game last week, so I think he's at least back. So you're you're getting some of those weapons back for Brock Purdy, although I think Christian McCaffrey is still not back. I think he's not eligible to come back until next week or maybe the week after that. So, yes, I know the 49ers are down. They're really down at running back because I think the backup, Jordan Mason, who had been one of the best running backs in place of McCaffrey, he was one of the best running backs in the league. I believe he got hurt as well, and you'll have to check the injury status on him because I don't know if he's going to be back or not. But as far as this handicap is concerned, I just don't care that much because in this game, what you have going on is both of these teams have good defenses, the Chiefs and the 49ers, but the Chiefs' offense is really, I don't think their offense is that good at this point. It all does go through Mahomes. Of course, he's still one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, but the 49ers have a much more well-rounded and dynamic offense, man. They have a lot more weapons on offense there with Debo, Ayuk, Kittle. Even without McCaffrey in there, they have a lot of different ways that they can hurt you. And this, I know, this is the same handicap that I made in the Super Bowl, and I lost, I know, but I like it. I think this is a spot. The 49ers, this is going to be, they have it circled, man. I mean, they just keep losing to the Chiefs. I think, they've lost 2 Super Bowls now to this Chiefs team, right? The last time the Chiefs came into their house in San Francisco was, I think, 2 years ago, and the Chiefs completely destroyed them and put up like 40-something points. But this is not that Chiefs offense anymore, man. I think San Francisco is able to, they are potentially going to be able to outscore Kansas City with this offense here. And I do know the line is also indicating that the Chiefs are the slightly better team in this game. Like I said with the Vikings, you got the team at home only laying 1.5. It's indicating that the other team is actually the better team, but the public is coming in on that better team, man. And I just think it's a spot to go against both of those teams. The Chiefs are coming out of a bye, but this is a situation where I don't think the bye is very helpful, man. I mean, I know this is a big game, so maybe they will spend their bye preparing something, but you're the Chiefs. You've won every game so far this year. You've done basically nothing wrong, so what can you fix in the bye? There's nothing that you've done wrong, so you have nothing to fix. So I think that bye will just kind of serve to stop their winning momentum a little bit here. So I don't think that bye is really that much of a positive for Kansas City. They do have to. It does mean that they don't have to travel over the course of a single week out to the Pacific time zone, so that the travel won't be as much of an issue because they do have the week off. But still, I think it is going to disrupt their momentum a little bit, and I think that they just feel like they can beat San Francisco because they've beaten them every single time in games that matter, really. So I think this is going to be the spot where San Francisco, I think, is going to show up, man. It's San Francisco. They're also on kind of a long week. I mean, they didn't have a bye, but they played last Thursday, so they do have a decent amount of rest as well, and that game got them back on the winning side of things against Seattle. So, yes, it was a big divisional win, but still, Seattle's been kind of struggling. And you know the 49ers, they're not going to overlook the team that beat them in the Super Bowl, man. I know they played Seattle, a big divisional game, and they do have Dallas up next, but there is no way that you overlook the team that beat you in the Super Bowl. And for Kansas City, the game actually means a little bit less because they're undefeated right now, and it is a road out-of-conference game. So those road out-of-conference games, as far as the tiebreakers are concerned, those games mean the least to you on your schedule. So I like this for San Francisco, man. I like how it sets up. It looks like Guerrero is now the running back for San Francisco if Mason isn't back, but I mean, they look like they have good run blocking schemes or something because Guerrero put up 99 yards against Seattle. I know Seattle's defense isn't that good, but at running back, they look like they haven't really missed McCaffrey that badly. So I don't think it's that huge a factor for the 49ers here. So I like the 49ers. And that's going to do it, man. Those are my plays. I'll do this in a little bit over an hour. Not too bad. Miami Dolphins plus 3.5. Minnesota Vikings minus 1.5. Carolina Panthers plus 9.5 or maybe plus 10. It might get up there tomorrow. And the 49ers, San Francisco 49ers minus 1.5. 4 NFL plays for you, man. Let's keep this winning going, man. We got to avoid having like brutally bad days where you go like 0-4, 0-5. Don't want that to happen. Those are rare. I don't want to jinx it either, but we're off a nice 5-2 day today, man. I know I only went 2-2 in college football, but it was still a slight win there because of the Maryland Moneyline Cash. I went 2-0 in the NHL and 1-0 in Major League Baseball today, so I'm feeling it. I'm feeling pretty good about today, man. I like it. I'm Tower Gang Tone on Twitter, of course. Go follow me there. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Hell yeah. Let's go, Wills. Yeah, hell yeah. The Seahawks are going to bounce back. They're playing Atlanta this week. I did not talk about that game, but, I mean, if you want me to. Sometimes I throw in a little bit extra analysis in the morning. I mean, maybe I could talk about that game because Seahawks Atlanta, it's a battle of the birds. It's not a it's certainly one of the bigger games, I will say. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I try to like be a shit poster on Twitter. I don't know if I succeeded at it, but I amuse myself with it. I think I get some bangers in there. Tom, good to see you as well. Good to see all you guys in the chat, man. Thanks a lot, all you guys. Whoever else was in the chat earlier, Nate, Upside Down guy, even though you hate me, Texas Goat Road Show, whoever else was in the chat, all you guys. Charles and Nate, those guys, they're constantly in there following me, man. Urjo, Shifty, thanks all you guys for hanging out. Thank you, sir. Hopefully my actual bets are able to get there as well so that my autism makes it worth it. And, of course, go sign up for the Tower Game Patreon, man. Follow the Tower Game podcast, of course, because it's the most hilarious, offensive podcast out there. But subscribe to the Patreon. You get bonus content, pre-show, post-show. You get to chill with us in a Telegram. You get to submit mailbag comments, questions, although Mark Vestibule monopolizes it, but we try to get to a few other ones. Sometimes we get to more of them in the Patreon show as well. And we're going to be at Bohemian Grove coming up at the end of this week, Friday, Saturday. The live Tower Game podcast is going to be Saturday evening, and then I think I'm hosting some cringe event, which I guess they want me to host karaoke, but I've never actually emceed karaoke before. I just sing karaoke, so I don't know how that's going to go over. But come to Bohemian Grove, man. It's going to be Friday and Saturday. There's a good lineup of podcasts. We got Clint Liberty Lockdown, of course. I mean, he's also with Tower Game, but he's going to be doing his show Friday night, I think. Bunch of other podcasts that I've basically never heard of that are mostly conspiracy podcasts. Revenge of the Sis. They're hilarious dudes. They're going to be on Friday, or Saturday, excuse me. They're on Saturday. We're on Saturday with Tower Gang, and then Saturday, the closing event of the event is the comedy show, which is headlined by Leonardo Joni. She's one of the only funny women out there, man. She's seriously funny. She's been on Tower Game before. Friend of the show, friend of us. And Mark Random is in the lineup. I don't know who else we have for the comedians, but we might be trying to add a few people as well. We will see. Mersh is spiraling. I got into it with him about that Home Depot woman who was, what was the deal with that? I don't even remember what the whole thing was, but I got into Mersh over that, where I was fine with the Home Depot woman losing her job over basically saying that she wanted Trump to be assassinated or whatever. I was just like, yeah, fuck that. Dude, Clint is never not fucking. So whenever there's a woman in his vicinity, that's what he's going to do. And speaking of women, go follow flapper.net as well. They're not women, they're men, but they're men who enjoy women. Flapper, FLAPPR. They got a pretty hilarious Twitter account as well. They do a lot of posting about beautiful women. They have a blog where that's also what they talk about, but they also talk about politics, history. They got a YouTube with some cool history-themed videos there as well. They are funny guys as well. They're hilarious. And I'm doing I'm running betting odds for their Milkers of the Year award this year, which it's a concept that I think they brought out last year where they just have this lineup of basically a bunch of the women who've done something that put them in the limelight throughout the year and who have nice racks. And then they give that award to whoever was their favorite during the year. Last year, I believe Lauren Boebert won. And the thing that put her over the top was her being groped during Beetlejuice. So she is in the running again. She's the reigning champ. And we'll see who wins it this year. But Sydney Sweeney is looking like a pretty good bet right now. I'm not taking bets on it, but maybe I should start. My dime piece, yeah, she's in the other room right now, man. She doesn't like to come in here when I'm really going on autistic rants. But I'll go talk to her in a second. Have a good one, guys. Thanks for hanging out. It's been good. Let's hope it's a good day of bets and a good day of football. Some pretty interesting games there, man. I mean, the Minnesota-Detroit game and the San Francisco-Kansas City game, I mean, that's what NFL is all about, man. Those are some real highlight games there. Peace out, man.